cut, and now we're back. Hey y'all, this is Lewis Weil at Money Positive. We provide unscary financial planning for everyone. And I wanted to talk about a important subject today. I guess every subject around money is important because it all influences our lives, but one that feels especially relevant to things that are happening in people's lives and a fear that a lot of people have. And that is losing your job and how to be ready for, if you haven't lost your job, but you just want to be ready for it, which you should, how to be ready for it and what to do once you lose your job. And, you know, if you're in that position, I hope that nothing I say today seems dismissive or overly blithe about the subject, but I've been there twice. I've been laid off twice. Maybe someday I'll make a video about the lessons I learned, like how around each time I got laid off, how it was different and how I felt and responded to it. I think it would be interesting, but I'm not quite ready there because one of the things that you need to do when you lose your job is process it. There is when we lose our jobs, we often go into a fight or flight. Just a second, I want to make sure my video is working. Yeah, it seems like I'm here. All right, sorry about that. So when we lose our jobs, often, even if it's not a surprise, it's still, the moment that you find out is hard. And the whole experience out of it is hard, and often the first instinct is to panic and try to have replacement income lined up before you get home. And that's just not the healthy way to respond to it. And you could also just find yourself, if it worked, you could find yourself in a job that actually isn't the right fit for you. That's a really good thing to come back to. Everything's about fit, and I can talk about that more sometime. But today, I want to try to stay focused. I actually tried to record this video on Friday, and I did the entire thing, and then it turned out the audio wasn't working. And just now I figured out how to do it. I'm still pretty new to OBS and Twitch. So when you get the news, let yourself process. Try to give yourself some time to absorb the news, lick your wounds, go for a walk, and just try to calm down. And you're gonna make better decisions and be in a better place if you let yourself process. You're gonna go through the stages of grief. You're gonna be in denial and anger. And all you can do is process. If you try to act out of that, you're going to often make some decisions that aren't really helpful for you and could even be a detriment to your finances. Once you've been let go, apply for unemployment. A lot of people don't realize or understand about unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance is the unemployment benefit that you get if you live in the U.S., that you get from your state. You have been paying into that this whole time. If you were in a car accident and you needed to get your car fixed, you would go to your car insurance and you wouldn't think anything of it. If you lose your job, you've been paying into unemployment insurance. Go out there and get that insurance. It is a benefit that you've been paying into and is there for this exact reason. Within certain limits, it usually provides about 60% of your take-home income, which can be really important. And we'll talk more about that as we talk about like budgeting and runway. Some caveats. Unemployment is complicated. I don't 100% understand how it's figured out and calculated, and it varies state to state. But apply for it. If you were fired instead of let go, you might not qualify for it. It's the difference between fault and no fault separation. But even if you were fired, apply for it anyway. I'm gonna let you a secret. I was let go. Both the times I was let go, I was fired twice. But both times I protested and ended up getting my unemployment insurance. So yeah, More about that some other time. So, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It is your money. Go get it. And you just like look for my state unemployment insurance and fill out the application. The next thing that you want to be thinking about is how you're going to cover yourself with health insurance. Odds are, if you were covered by your work plan that you were on, you're going to need to find a replacement. That is, if you want to continue having your now former employer's plan, that's called COBRA, and that's where you pay the entire amount. The employer premium plus the employee premium to continue on the same insurance, which can be a great option. It's often real expensive, but it is better than not having insurance. And I can tell you that firsthand, have insurance. Or you can go to your state's or national Affordable Care Act, Obamacare plan, and find a plan to cover you while you're getting your feet back under you. But don't try to not have a gap in health insurance. You don't want to turn a really hard time into an even harder time because you didn't have insurance. And this leads into what you need to think about is when all of a sudden, by choice or by not choice, or unexpectedly, you don't have income. You got to focus in on budgeting. So when one of our clients tells us that they've lost their job, the first thing we do, besides after trying to comfort them, is look at how much cash do they have on hand. And what we look at a very high level is how much money do they need to spend. So add up all your bills, including your cell phone and your Netflix and your dog's food, all the things that you have to spend money on, plus a little bit of spending money. And caveat, a lot of people think like, oh, if I lose my job, I'll just eat rice and beans or ramen and really focus my budget. What happens is you have more time on your hands, and a lot of people go for retail therapy. They end up going out more. They have more time again. So I like for people to have really realistic budgets and, whenever possible, really well-funded emergency funds beforehand. If you've already lost your job and you're dealing with this, you got to deal with it the way you got to deal with it. But if you're still working, focusing on the emergency fund is a really prudent thing, so that losing your job is an inconvenience instead of a disaster. And so what I look at is how much money do they have and how much money do they need. So pretend that someone has $15,000. I'm going to make this really easy on myself. They have $15,000 across all their accounts. And when they go through, they add up their rent and their car insurance and all the things that they have to spend money on, including some spending money, and realize they need $5,000 a month. So if they weren't getting any outside income, any unemployment insurance, if they didn't have a partner who was working, they would have 15,000 divided by 5,000 would equal 3 months of runway. If you can get unemployment insurance, and so it turns out you're getting $1,500 a month, let's do some math. I always get out my calculator. So now you only need $3,500 to make things work. So now you have 4.5 months of runway. And this is what I ask people to think about, is in terms of runway. Because this helps, I'm going to say ameliorate the panic around losing your job. Oftentimes, once we sit down and do the actual math, we see that it's not as scary as it felt when we first, had that fight or flight reaction when we first lost our job. And that's what I want for everyone. And that's why Money Positive is so focused on emergency funds. As we were designing how we plan, it was based around, my own experience of losing my job twice at two different times. This was years ago, back when I was in biotech. And if you do the math and realize like, oh, I've got 6 months of runway, you're a lot less panicked than if you realize like, oh, I need money right now. And I always ask people to try to make the best out of unemployment. Even if it's unexpected and, you're a source of stress, it's also one of those rare times in our working lives where we don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time. So oftentimes, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but as long as their emergency funds are okay, a lot of times I help people who just lost their jobs to go on a vacation because it's nice traveling, within reason, traveling and knowing like I don't have to be back at my desk on, Monday at 8 a.m. So we try to buy people time to reflect and think about what they want to do next, because this can be an opportunity to do education, to network, and actually improve and grow your career versus being a total disaster. So how we respond to it is very important. And I think one of the main things to take out is that runway concept. So however much money you have divided by however much money you need equals your number of months. So when I'm working with someone and they ask me like, hey, Lewis, can I still, take this trip I was planning or buy this thing that I had been planning before I lost my income? We'll look at it and say, instead of thinking of it in terms of dollars, think about it in terms of time. If you did that thing, would you lose a month? Like how many weeks or months of your runway would you be trading? So if you have plenty of runway, it might be worthwhile to go on that trip and it wouldn't dramatically change your trajectory. Keeping in mind also, like if your partner has income, then you just do your portion of what is missing from the budget. And if you're in a really, really tight situation, especially if you haven't had a chance to build up your emergency fund, this happens when we first start working with someone and we're focused on breaking the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. This can be a judicious time. Let me rephrase that. This can be a time to judiciously use credit cards. Counterintuitive financial planner advice. Usually we're trying to help people get rid of credit card debt, but this is one of those times where a credit card can be part of your emergency fund, part of your emergency response, because you can't pay rent. Like there are certain things where you need cash. You cannot pay rent with credit cards most of the time. So a lot of times we're helping people, especially if they don't have a robust emergency fund yet, to make sure that they have enough cash so that they can keep maintaining their life. Because we want, whenever there's an emergency, we want to turn it into an urgency, not a disaster. So the careful use of credit so that you can hold on to cash for things that need cash can be really useful. But yeah, I hope that the take-home message out of this is, layoffs happen, getting fired happens, losing your job happens. It is not unusual. It happens to a lot of people, if not most people, and there is a lot you can do about it, and you can also be turned into an opportunity. So remember, focusing in on budget, focusing in on months of runway, which again is your cash on hand divided by the amount of money you need to live in a month, and that would be your spending money plus your recurring bill money. And use it as a time to reflect and be with your family and engage in hobbies and rest, and get back into the job market in a healthy way, in a way that is better than the last one that you had. I'm going to look real quick to see if there's anyone in the chat. And it does not look like it. Oh, connecting to chat. Okay, no, I don't see anyone in the chat. So thank you all so much for watching. Stay money positive. Reach out, Lewis, Lewis, at moneypositive.com, info@moneypositive.com, or just go to moneypositive.com and you can get a link to our calendar and talk with a planner. We're always here to help. Helping people get through things is what we do. I hope you're well. I hope this has been good. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.